Hey, everybody. Welcome to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. It's Sunday, April 16th, 2023. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you today. We've got a lot to talk about. The Tennessee Three, well, they are reunited once again. They are all back in the Tennessee State House. But was that a glimpse into the future? Indeed, these supermajorities are being used uh, to impose massive penalties, really this time on Democrats. So I want to know what your thoughts are, because it's it's a huge step to push someone out of office, to expel them from the body, to deny the people they represent representation. But somehow or another, that did happen, but they were reinstated. Justin, State Representative Justin Jones, State Representative Justin Pearson, well, they, after being expelled, well, they were reinstated this week. And so, as we are very excited about that, and that's a good thing. The fact is, um, this is still something that is going on. This is a real big deal in Wisconsin. There is legislation in Wisconsin that is on track, and if the majority holds, it will be passed. The two Justins would not have been reseated in Wisconsin. So I want to know what your thoughts are. Call me at 773-763-9278. No, that's my other show. 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. I want to hear what your thoughts are, everybody. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Call me, hey, and meet Lorraine and Dave Dowling and Jewel, and so many of you over on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and the Reverend Jesse Jackson Senior Facebook page. And Santita Jackson and friends. Indeed, Politico reported while liberals were celebrating the election of a Wisconsin Supreme Court justice, that's right, who will tip the court to the left. Voters in the state's 8th senatorial district were sending a Republican to Madison. And that gives the GOP a Senate supermajority, and with it the power to remove key officials through impeachment, including judges. So she is in the firing line of the GOP to be impeached. Now, impeachment is an indictment, but it certainly can hem you up. And an indictment can lead to a removal from office for whatever reason. So we've got to talk about this today because, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And be very clear. There are some plans that are afoot to keep people like the two Justins out of office. Once expelled and once their county commissions put them back in, oh, no. That won't happen in Wisconsin if the GOP has its way. You just won't be able to come back in, period. You can't be reseated. Let's talk about that on Keep Up Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. And we want you to mark your calendars for July 15th through the 19th. July 15th through the 19th. Jeremy, you've got to be there. It's going to be a great convention. The Rainbow Push International Conference, July 15th through the 19th. You've got to join us there. And then there's going to be a paint and sip party. Have you heard of those, Jeremy? Okay, I had not. But that's what we're going to be having at Push on Saturday from 3 to 6 at 930 East 50th Street. For those of you who live within shouting distance of Chicago, please come from 3 to 6 on the 22nd. But in the meantime, July 15th through the 19th, we'll be talking about issues just like these and so many other issues. Because remember, now we're on the cusp of the 2024 presidential and entire election season. Back with more of Keep Up Alive in just a few minutes. Okay. Call Reverend. He just called. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Oh, Reverend just called. So we can call him. No, he just called me on my phone. We'll just find out what is the phone number. Imagine getting ahead of your irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS by treating it with Linzess. Hi, everybody. Hey, everybody. Like and share. Like and share. Like and share. We're going to get Reverend up very shortly. Did you see these? Mm-hmm.
It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall
What is
general
this?
symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination,
What?
not
The
individually.
commercial?
Yes.
Not giving Zest to children less than 2.
Is that Reverend? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to call Shelly?
It comes on Jackson's phone.
oh, Mrs. Jackson.
Okay,
sorry.
I'll
What?
call her
What?
back. I got the number.
All right.
Okay, let me say hello to everybody. You have that number, right?
Please.
That's the other number
Yeah.
that works so well. State Representative Myers, before we come to you, we're going to get the update from Joseph Kiles so we can find out what happened.
I got you.
He's head of Rainbow Push Memphis. And of course, Joseph Kiles, you're on with your homie, Dwight McKee, although we have him in Chicago now. You know, and you do sound like Dwayne. Well, you are cousins. But I just said, wow, that's true. He sounds like Dwayne.
Just like the one.
Oh, man. I'm like, oh, wow, that's so true. It blew my mind when it finally hit me, right? I was like, Dwayne, what? What? Oh, man, you guys, it's too much.
Yeah.
Okay, Reverend, you're on with Joseph Kiles, Dwight McKee,
Okay.
Attorney Darrell Jones, and State Representative Myers from Wisconsin. Because Reverend, just as a heads up, they have legislation that the Republicans have constructed in Wisconsin that would not allow the two Justins back in. Once you're expelled, you cannot be reseated, period. And now, you know, and she's going to tell us more about what's happening in Wisconsin, you know, with the Republicans looking to possibly impeach the new Supreme Court justice. There's a lot going on. But everyone, we've got Reverend Jackson here.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, guys.
Okay, Reverend, we need you to speak more clearly or get into a better place.
Both names, Justin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what you want to do, Reverend, whatever you just did, stay right there because you sounded great.
Okay, thank you.
Stay right there. Energetically stay right there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hey, Chaparral. Happy Sunday, Mildred Banks. Okay. Well, we're going to ask Joseph Kiles that. Mildred Banks wants to understand why the two Justins in Tennessee are not being seated on committees. I didn't realize that.
That was another thing that they do, Santita.
Well, you know what? When you all come back, you all can explain all of those intricacies. But Reverend, of course, we need you to react to all of this, okay? Reverend?
Yes.
No. Whatever you were doing before, because now you're sounding muffled. Stay up, okay?
Yeah.
Stay
Yes,
up.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, stay up. Please. I hear Mom. Tell Mom we can hear her.
Yeah.
No. Let us know. Let her know we can hear her.
All right. You can hear you, Jackie.
Hey. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. We are getting ready for the Rainbow Push International Conference, July 15th through the 19th. Please go to rainbowpush.org and get registered. You don't want to miss this conference. This is going to be fantastic. We'll be talking about this issue and so many issues. Indeed, all roads lead to 2024. And so we want to talk about those issues and so much more. We were so glad to have Mayor-elect, Chicago Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson at the Rainbow Push Saturday Morning Forum yesterday. What a celebration it was, but it was also a charge. Indeed, Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers, we were talking about the things that we need him to do. We can't just send you to to Madison. We can't just send you to the state capital of Wisconsin or downtown to City Hall in Chicago or in Los Angeles or in New York or wherever you are, and leave you there. We've got to continue to advocate, because as we push you, there are other people pulling at you. So we've got Attorney Darrell Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition, Dwight McKee, noted social scientist, indeed one of the founders of Rainbow Push, active with the National Action Network as well today, and Joseph Kiles, Reverend Jackson, of course, head of Rainbow Push Memphis, who's going to give us an update on what happened this week. We've been celebrating, we've been rejoicing about the two Justins being readmitted, but indeed, there was a very interesting article in Politico that said this is a glimpse of the future. It wasn't a question, it was an affirmative statement they've made. Reverend Jackson, what do you make of all that we're seeing?
Extremes beget extremes. Extremes of the Tennessee legislature produced, in some sense, Justin Pearson, Justin Johnson for us. That's the good news, because eyes of they have been exposed. The extreme of locking the parked up the back of the bus on all the front of the bus. Where's Dr. King? We keep saying that these extremes really have what we might call unintended consequences. These young men are so intelligent, articulate their points of view so well. They're sending the leaders of today and leaders of tomorrow. Rainbow Push will have them both at our convention July 15th and 19th in Chicago this year.
Fantastic. Well, Joseph Kiles, what did we see this week, and why are some people saying, okay, that's part of the struggle, and you still have the gun control, but you still have people who are being threatened, not just in Tennessee, but all over the country with expulsion?
Thank you, Reverend Jackson. Thank you, Santita, for having me. What we're looking at right now in terms of the Tennessee State Legislature, this is a real constitutional challenge. And while Justin Pearson had not been seated prior to the demonstration, Justin Jones was already seated on the committee, and they're preventing them from having the opportunity. The legal battle will go on long after this. And so just the fact that they're trying to get their credentials, parking passes, access to legislative areas, the whole 9 yards. They've had to hire attorneys. So Justin Pearson is represented by Eric Holder, and they're going to fight this. This is a constitutional challenge. But what scares?
Wait. Hold on. I need you to explain. What do you mean they're having trouble getting their credentials? What are credentials, and what troubles are they facing?
So legislators have credentials that allow them to move about freely and access on state capitals. And so one way that you can put obstacles in the person's way is that you just don't provide them credentials. And so while they were waiting to be reseated by the Nashville City Council and the Shelby County Commission, the supermajority was attempting to put in legislation that would prevent them from actively participating as a duly elected member of that body. And so they are fighting those particular challenges, and the people need to know that this fight is long. But most importantly, what I would like to say is that what this action took by the supermajority brought a diverse group of people together over real gun control legislation. The supermajority didn't even want to have a discussion about how we limit access, these high-powered battlefield weapons, to regular citizens. And this is what this fight is going to be about. And everybody now is a part of it.
So I think that people need to know, Joseph Kiles, that they've not really been fully readmitted, right? I mean, is that fair to say?
Well, they're fighting. And so there may be legislation to come on the floor on Monday or subsequently days after. But we're keeping monitoring that. We're keeping a watch on it. They have access, but we're just trying to make sure that now that they do receive committee appointments, and so that they can represent President. Justin Pearson represents over 70,000 people in his district. If he doesn't have access to committees, he can't bring back the bacon to his district. So he's in essence ineffective. So we have to make sure that those 70,000 people in Shelby County voice their opinion to the state legislator, to Governor Lee, to make sure that these individuals are appointed to committees and that they're treated fairly and that they have all responsibilities of duly elected members of the Tennessee General Assembly.
Yes, Reverend.
The mission of this thing is simply to start the majority putting people out, expelling them, not letting them back. That shoe goes on 2 feet, you know. Some places, Democrats are majority to majority. It's a road that it's a perilous road to go down.
Well, you know what, Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers. Does this sound familiar to you? I mean, of course, obviously, I think even more than anyone else on this show today, you understand the intricacies of getting your credentials, of being on committees, of being barred from committees. I mean, this is a fight that you and, of course, State Senator Lena Taylor, you all wage this battle, it seems, every day.
Absolutely, and I'm glad Reverend brought up the fact that this is a tool that, depending on where you live, can be implemented by both Democrats and Republicans. It is one of the dirty little secrets that people do not realize can happen to state elected officials. While both Justins are living in states that have a Republican majority, I live in a state that has a Republican majority as well. However, we have a Democratic governor. If there are certain pieces of legislation in which a person goes against the governor in my state, you can be threatened with being pulled from your committee or having your staff level reduced. That is something that has happened in the past. That is a threat that I have received in the past during the time of redistricting in the state of Wisconsin, where, you know, we were trying to go through a piece of legislation and I disagreed with the governor on principle because we had an issue with, I think it was the number of hours that it took to be a CNA. We wanted to make it comparable with what the federal level had. And this was probably 2 sessions ago. And the governor did not want to change that. And I said, well, you know, in my district, people were saying they wanted something different. That was a threat that was levied against me. And I told them I didn't care. So,
Wait, about the Democratic governor?
yes, ma'am.
I know. Yeah, look, I'm not offended when you said yes. You're speaking to Reverend's point, right?
You don't play ball in a certain way. That is one of the threats that is levied against a member. Now, I was elected by the 58,000 people that live in my district that wanted me to go to Madison to extol their beliefs and to, you know, do what they asked me to do. And when the majority of them say, no, we want X, Y, Z, and I'm telling the rest of my colleagues this, then maybe I can't vote with you on this particular item this way because my constituents want something. It was, well, this is what the governor wants. And, you know, if you do something different, then we will, you know, possibly we will have to, you know, take away, you know, either your staff or, you know, try to limit you in some other way. You can't scare me.
Absolutely. Yes, Reverend.
The Randall Cleveland Democrat Party went this way. They was epitomizing Democrat. Such a reaction that they left us talking about third party seriously at that time. On one party, 2 names. So what we've done, I had 9 million black voters last 20 years. The same Democrat Party went on the Democrat notwithstanding.
Well, you know, let me move this around. I mean, because we did grow up in Chicago under Mayor Daley, Dwight McKee. And of course, you cut your teeth as a teenager under Reverend and just working, I mean, pushing against the Democratic machine. And you've also said that this election was not even about party as much as it was about the people. I mean, are you surprised when you hear Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers, who is from Chicago, say that a progressive governor, you know, threatened to reduce her staff, really penalize her for not voting his way? Dwight McKee.
Not at all. For years, these politicians have been using politics as a whipping stick to extract out of their constituencies those things that they saw that they could not negotiate. So they just imposed their will by using root and laws and money and dirty little secrets to impose their will and get their way. Particularly in cities like Chicago, where you had these strong arm men who was locked into ethnic blocks that really controlled a lot of the city council. Guys on the outside or guys who were not tied into that machine really suffered because they would not deliver services or resources or denied access. And so there was a price to be paid and a penalty to be served if you did not do the bidding of these guys.
Call us at 866-594-HOPE. Reverend?
To compound that, in Chicago, the work, you want to be a garbage person, garbage driver, on the principles who you have to apply to the 21st century minimum. And data control all commitments. So you had to be a fireman, promotion in those areas. You had to go through your commitment, which was controlled. And so what it meant, Sandra, was simply this: these are temporary workers. If you didn't deliver your vote on the election, you would lose your job. It put oppressing black people to maintain their job. It was cruel in implementation.
Well, I mean, Dwight, why don't you speak to that? I mean, because that makes even what Reverend Jackson did with Alderman Bill Singer by unseating the Democratic machine at the 1972 convention. That makes that all the more epic, if you will. Dwight McKee.
And there were portions of the Democratic Party who never forgave him for that.
Never forgave who? Reverend Jackson?
Singer. It was built around what they call a patronage system, where your politics was tied into your occupation. And in order to get a city job, you had to favor a particular political party, whoever was in charge. And they measured you about the amount of votes that you brought in. And if you didn't deliver your votes, you couldn't keep your job. It has since been deemed illegal, but it was always unethical. And it took away any choice you had of political independence if you wanted a city job or a city contract.
What? Our pastor, the Reverend Clay Evans, the iconic Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, Reverend Jackson is saying that, and we would have to walk past the church. He was one of the biggest black preachers in the country, and 60 years ago almost, he started building a church, a facility that would hold 12 to 1,500 people, huge at that time. And I can tell you, because he allowed Dr. King to speak from his pulpit, the mayor called in all of his chips, closed down the opportunities for him to get loans, and made the contractors pull out. We had to watch the beams rust for almost 7 years, but he held on. He held on and never backed down from Dr. King, and continued to embrace Reverend Jackson, who, of course, worked for Dr. King. Attorney Darrell Jones, what are your thoughts about this? Are you surprised by what Joseph Kiles has been telling us? I mean, they still have a fight. The two Justins still have a fight on their hands.
Good morning, Reverend. Good morning, Cynthia. You know, listening to what Brother Kyle has indicated that's going on, it's surprising, but it's not overwhelmingly surprising. And I say that because of this. You know, we know that historically, and particularly current day, there are always battles that go on for elected officials to retain and get on committees because it's often difficult. One of the biggest things after being elected is the determination of what committee you sit on because it determines where your voice is being heard and the power that you then have. So what we see happening with the Justins, Jones, and Pearson in Tennessee is a demonstration of the power of the House Speaker in Tennessee, saying, you know, we may be forced because of the popular support to put you back in place, but we're still going to clip your wings. We're going to clip the voice of the people that supported you and put you in office. So it's not surprising to see them attempting this type of matter. What will be surprising if it actually follows through. I consider this still a threat to them to try to remind them that they want to be under the thumb of the House Speaker. The piece that we have to be mindful of on the national level as well, Santita, because it also gives us a viewing of this, is that we see the same thing that's happening in the Congress with George Santos, right? They're not removing him from office, but they're stripping him of committee assignments, stripping him of power. It's that same type of strong political move that's under review and in play right now in Tennessee. And we've got to be certain that the voters, that all of the voters in the state of Tennessee stand with the Justins for their complete being paid back on the committees that they were placed on, because this is an affront to each and every voter in the state of Tennessee.
Well, you know, we've got about 2 minutes, Joseph Kyles, before we go to break. I mean, this story is now kind of receding from the headlines, but this is the real fight now, Joseph Kyles. 2 minutes.
And one of the things that a member of the supermajority in East Tennessee told the governor and the Speaker of the House, he said, what we've done with expelling these members have energized this fight, and we've energized it with our own Caucasian children. And so if you look at that crowd that was at the State House, it was 80% Caucasian young people who are now speaking up and fighting against these weapons of war and battlefield access in our public arenas. And that you can take that message all across the country.
Everybody, these issues and more we will be talking about at this convention. I mean, just politically, what is the call to action now? 1 minute, Joseph.
We'll find the three things, Santi. The number
Okay.
one, all out fight against violence, and those who make the weapons and those who sell them. There's not a black gun dealer in America. I mean, gun dealer in America. Not one.
Well, you know,
Not one. Not manufactured in the world is like.
well, you know, there's Reverend, you know, as we go to break, there is that fight. But when we come back, you know, before Joseph Kyles has to leave us today, we want to find out about this other fight, because many of us are still exulting in their readmission to this body. But Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers tells us, wait a minute, in Wisconsin, I've got a Democratic governor who's a progressive, who was elected as such, who had a black man who was his lieutenant governor. And he threatened me with penalties, loss of staff, not getting money from my district if I did not vote with him. So this is a bipartisan betrayal, as my brother Congressman Jackson would put it.
Progressive.
Well, that is regressive now. It really is. So let's talk about this on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Joseph Kyles, you've got to give us some marching orders when you get back on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson, July 15th through the 19th, the Rainbow Push Conference. You don't want to miss it. We'll be talking about these issues and more. Back in just a minute.
Yes, I do. Your opinion counts. 1-866. That's 1-866.
Reverend? Yeah. We're going to try to confirm that call with the Justins tomorrow or Tuesday. They wanted you to know they apologize for not getting to you quickly, but we've extended them the invitation to be at the convention, and Representative Hardaway would like to join them as well.
Fantastic.
Good.
I should have had him on today.
Pearson again, and his return to the presence. You think?
Reverend, can I make a recommendation?
Yes.
We should be organizing in Milwaukee with State Senator Taylor and State Representative Myers as well. Because, because you've got like the clash of civilizations, if you will, State Representative Myers in Apples Way, Wisconsin. That was a show when I was a child. I don't think you were born yet. And it was, you have Madison, you have Milwaukee, but you've got the rest of Wisconsin too.
The rest of Wisconsin, right.
And you got those elements in Milwaukee too.
Right.
I mean, it's a progressive state and it's a very, very right-wing state at the same time. And that's the fight that you're having. And I just think that, Joseph, as this story kind of moves off to the side, we don't know. When I saw in the headlines that they had hired lawyers, that they lawyered up, I said, "Oh, what is going on with the two Justins?" That's the real story.
The constitutional challenge.
Because now the real fight begins for them.
Yeah. And we have to put that out there, like, oh no, you got to get out and march because these people are being denied committee assignments. They are going. Yeah, and they're going to starve them out so that they can raise up challenges to them and get them out electorally.
That is why we must balance with the bullets and sticks as weapons. They have people that will stand and fight for us. A lot of blacks will just.
Wait a minute, Reverend, slow down, and I'm gonna bring you back up, and then I'm gonna pivot to Joseph. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, stand by. Stand by, Reverend. Slow down, though. Oh, thank you.
To share with you a little story that I heard. And I'm sure that many of us can identify with it. A young man who went swimming the other day went on out into deep water. His father and others were standing on the bank. When they looked at him, this young man was about to drown. Something had happened while out there trying to swim. They saw him going down. Naturally, this rescued father got excited.
I could hear him all day long. That's my pastor. Oh boy.
So father reached around and just so happened there was a rope there. And he took that rope and threw it. Hallelujah.
Reverend Clay Evans. I'll miss him for the rest of my life. Oh boy. Dwight. Whew, that caught me by surprise. Santita Jackson, everybody. Keep Up Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. That was Brownsville, Tennessee's own Reverend Clay Evans. Brownsville is just outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Reverend Clay Evans. And, oh boy, you got me this morning, Jeremy. Some people just are part of you. And that is Reverend Clay Evans. But we've got a fight down in Tennessee. The two Justins are really, the real fight has begun, actually, to get credentials. I mean, where are they going to park? What do they have committee assignments? I mean, really, what price are they paying? I mean, what are they being denied right now, Joseph? I think we need to be clear on that. Oh, Reverend, I just want us to establish very clearly what they're being denied. Because most of us, unlike, we're not, in government like State Representative Lakeisha Myers. I mean, she's revealed some things to us just a few minutes ago that are stunning, but we don't know that they're they're really in the fight. Joseph Kiles.
Access to committee appointments, Santita, that is a major piece that we're dealing right now. If you deny them access to committee appointments, the 60, 70,000 people that they represent respectively have no voice. And so they've elected members who essentially are ineffective and cannot do the job.
Oh, wow. State rep.
Those committees too, Santita. So that is denial of their community's voice when it comes to really engaging the debate in legislation and when those bills come up. So there will be no dissenting voices, more than likely, because they will be stripped of a vote if they don't serve on a committee.
Do their districts have any legal recourse?
I think that's why they are doing it individually through the legal recourse in that way. Because again, these are things that you don't necessarily know when you are the average constituent. Mm-hmm. You just know, oh, I voted for this person on election day. Now they go and do the rest. If it's not made public to you, then you wouldn't know that your representative does not have a committee assignment or doesn't have staff to effectively help them answer constituent calls when you call them.
Well, they just think that you've gone there and you're not working, because that's the rap on legislators, right?
Exactly. If you're not working and not responding to constituents, then they're saying, oh, well, when I called, they didn't answer the phone. So let's get them out the next go round.
Oh. You speak of politics, none of the voting to start the process. I'm moving about I voted and you represent me. I think the point you raised a minute ago about what was our agenda was there. One, we want to stop violence. The students began to march on gun manufacturers, march on gun shops. That's a fight worth fighting. Second was demand student loan debt forgiveness. Third, every American is the right to vote inherently. 18 years of age, you should be a registered voter automatically. Mm-hmm. Those are kind of demands we must make now. So open up the box. I said Brandon Johnson yesterday, we met in my office, that we must do that. Check out that 21,000 high school seniors to be 18 by November.
Well, Reverend. Yes, Reverend.
Into one auditorium or one center, raising them at 20,000 at one time. That's a big breakthrough. Brandon won 4,000 inmates for registered to vote, 7,000 high school seniors registered to vote, and they did vote. Sister Five, you were in the booth, you registered, no.
Well, you know what, Reverend? I think, though, that it appears, Dwight, that this is a multi-track fight, because while Reverend is right, you've got to march on the gun shops, they still need to be marching on the Capitol, Dwight, because they need to understand. I mean, Joseph, before I pivot to Dwight, that's the fight. It's like you said, it's a constitutional fight. I don't know if that's really getting out there, though, Joseph Kiles.
And that's why we need to continue. And I think that the opportunity for them to meet with Reverend Jackson and attend the convention and Reverend's ability to make this a global issue. Many people are reaching out to the Justins right now and not asking for reasonable action. And what Reverend just laid out, stop the violence, the number one. But when we think about the real issue of getting young people registered and how they have connected with this particular message and fight, can trend all across the country to start having discussions about limiting weapons of mass destruction in communities.
Well, but also understanding just how the government works, because I think that is something we're going to have to get State Representative Myers back. That's something that we really do not understand. And Dwight, you're always trying to help us to understand what we don't understand, which is how the system really works. Dwight McKee?
Well, Voting just puts us in the ring. It gives us the right to fight. The fight starts once the bell rings. And so voting just really give you some gloves and some shorts and some shoes and put you in the center of the ring. After then, you have to fight every round, take every blow and throw every blow. And because we don't understand that, we think voting is an end unto itself rather than a means to an end.
State Representative, I'm sorry, Dwight McKee, please continue.
Yeah, government is a process. Government regulates, manages the distribution of goods and services. And whoever is in charge of those particular branches of government give them the right to decide how those goods and services are distributed. So there's the Department of Agriculture that deals with food stuff. There is a Pentagon that deals with military issues. There is a Treasury Department that deals with how the money is spent and distributed. Government at its core only regulates the goods of distribution and services. And so we really have to study government to understand what's being divvied up to who and how much.
I mean, Attorney Daryl Jones, I mean, what about the legal remedies? I mean, can the people sue? Can their constituents sue?
Cynthia, absolutely. What should happen, and this is the issue, it's really a First Amendment affront, because, the First Amendment, when we talk about voting, your vote is your voice, and it's a quieting of your voice anytime a legislative body says, you better shut up. We're going to discount your voice. We're going to discount your vote. And that becomes, a legal issue that permits folks from Tennessee that are in a particular district that have their votes discounted to be able to sue based on that principle. And so, that's one of the things that D.K. Hoffa and I have continually pushed for, is that it's an affront on many sides. So we don't need to just go out and vote, although we need to do that. We don't need to just register to vote, although we need to do that. We don't need to just hold people accountable, although we need to do that. We also need to use the judicial branch of government to, protect, fight, and be certain that our voices are being heard and the interests are being kept. One of the things that Dwight McKee laid out that is completely, I think, on point in terms of the analogy is that the vote and getting the person elected of office simply gets us to the point of being in the ring and being able to fight for the interests of the constituents. But what happens is if the referee that's in there, judging the fighters, takes one of your hands and ties it behind your back to try to stop you from being effective for your people, then you become vulnerable. And that's what we see happening in Tennessee. When you start stripping them of their committee assignments, trying to strip them of any of their powers, you're trying to clip their wings, you're clipping the wings of democracy, and you're making their constituents more vulnerable and less effective than they would otherwise be. Not to mention having the chilling effect of any other legislature that might think about standing up for gun legislation, reasonable gun legislation, to protect their citizens and their children. This is the net result of all of that. So yeah, there are legal steps that can be taken and should be taken. And my understanding is that I believe both Justins, if I understood it correctly, have lawyered up and they're probably looking at these angles right now.
Well, because my question is, just given how politics works, State Representative Myers, it just takes one angry person in your district to start that little fire that can get you pushed out of office. Someone whose phone call was not answered. anything like that. So, I mean, it seems to me that the two Justins are more vulnerable than ever before. And let's not forget Ms. Johnson. I mean, excuse me, State Representative Gloria Johnson, because I mean, was she stripped? Well, Joseph, before I pivot to the state representative from Wisconsin, was she stripped of any assignments? I mean, what has happened to her?
Well, she had already been seated on her committee assignment. Justin Pearson had not had the opportunity. And keep in mind, the Tennessee General Assembly is only typically from January to end of April, and sometimes maybe 2 weeks into May. And so, you know, once the body comes back and addresses the governor's budget and the transformation of how those dollars are going to flow in distribution, Justin Pearson hadn't been seated up until that point.
Well, yes, Reverend Jackson.
I'm the press.
Mm.
Well, the old guy at the top of the cricket is not enough. Old guys, old guys, two senators must have a sense of a process. For example, you got to make a good example, but pork chop. You got to find the pig, feed the pig, there's some hogs, you got to slaughter the hogs, to cure the meat, then take it to the store, sell it. I mean, you get that process. Well, plumbers on some people say, give me a pork chop, give me a hog. You got fed, they got slaughtered, meat got cured. You go on to the process of politics. What you expect of politics? Roads, bridges, houses, schools, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know much of that, Joseph Kiles. I'm sorry.
This is true. That's the truth. I mean, we talk about distribution and the pass through of federal funds, but it's important right now for the two Justins to meet with our wise counsel, and they're looking forward to that meeting with Reverend Jackson so that he can help them strategize and work with young people who want to be legislators all across the country, and let's formulate a strong plan.
So what happens in the meantime?
I'm sure that their attorneys right now are responding, drafting responses to what might potentially come to the legislature. And there are members during the Black Caucus that are working to negotiate committee assignments. And I think that we'll know a lot more this week.
Mm. State Representative, yes, Reverend Jackson.
I'm saying the consequence of that. Laws they're trying to apply on Justin, Jones, and Pearson will apply to white women too. And see, right. Sometimes as long as we're hurting, it changes all right. If they begin to hurt, it's different. There's a trouble going against in New York right now. That things all right until someone gets hurt.
Well, State Representative Myers, I mean, what would you tell? I've got a couple of minutes before we go to break. What would you give us a quick education, a political education? What should constituents be doing now?
I think constituents should be rallying the membership, the members that are leadership, letting them know that they are paying attention to the process. You know, if there's a way for them to file some type of amicus brief or petition to the court on their legislators' behalf, I would say do that as well. Letters of support for their legislators may help, because they have to fight this thing on all fronts, not just within the legal system, but also within the leadership system that exists in the Tennessee General Assembly. So making sure that they don't just go away because their representatives have been reseated. Now the real work starts to showing up in those committee hearings and saying, well, because they're public hearings, even though you don't have a member sitting on the committee, you can still submit your voice to the other members that are seated in that committee and say, well, my representative does not have a committee assignment, but this is how we feel in our community about X, Y, and Z bill.
And we thought it was all over. We thought everything had been settled. Oh no, things are most unsettled. Indeed, they have lawyered up. One of the Justins has Eric Holder, the former Attorney General, as his lawyer. What about the fight, everybody? Did you know that this kind of fight is now, that's the phase that we're in? Oh no, it's always more than one phase, everybody. More than one phase. And whenever you be careful when you see people exulting and so excited, because you got to know something else is coming behind that. July 15th through the 19th, the Rainbow Push International Conference. We do hope that the two Justins will be there, because we do need to strategize, and not they need to strategize with Reverend, but Reverend, I'm sure, would be instructing them to get all around the country, because this is a national fight. It's not just a Tennessee fight. This is a national fight. And it's a fight that we can win if we fight it and if we know how. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson in just a few minutes.
You need to hold on just a little while longer.
We'll have closing thoughts from Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Wow.
Right here on Keep Hope Alive.
You got me on that one.
Enjoy cleaner safety.
Dwight, he got me on that one. Daddy, he got me on that one. Think about Reverend Evans every day. Wow, wow. We always knew that somebody was in trouble if Reverend Evans came to us before the 11 o'clock service. if we saw his car pull up in front of the house, you were like, woo! Ooh, we'd be looking at each other like, oh man, who, what? I'm like, I know it's not me. What y'all did, Jesse Johnny? What y'all do? Ooh.
That's either you know that blue oval, that $8 billion that Ford is bringing to Tennessee.
Yes.
That's bagged up right to Brownsville.
You are kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Joseph, we used to come down there every year to celebrate. They would honor Reverend Evans in Brownsville/Memphis. Of course, then we'd be at your uncle's church that Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Big fun. Oh, we loved coming down there. Oh boy. Oh, it was great. It was great. A lot of great times. A lot of great times. Oh my goodness. But I think, we're on Facebook Live, everybody. I think that we've got to, no, that's right, Yvonne. She said, hallelujah. Bless her heart. We've got to, we've got to continue to get the word out. Let me know if you have any time in the morning. I will not keep you long, but I think it's important to let people know that they're in another phase of this fight, a fight that could get them put out of office. I mean, isn't that kind of sort of what they did to Adam Clayton Powell?
Yeah, well, what they're doing, exactly. They're trying to find right now replacements because they're holding these special elections. And so now you're going to be facing a concerted effort. The gun lobbyists, NRA, anybody else is going to try to swing a moderate African-American Democrat to get in the race to beat these guys.
Who doesn't have an afro.
That's right. That's right.
And it doesn't wear a dashiki. That was the problem first.
Yeah, that's right. That doesn't wear a dashiki.
Oh, yeah.
Pearson had a problem first with the dashiki.
I mean, because I heard some of the news people talking about his afro. I said, are you serious right now?
Yeah. Why would that even be a consideration? And I'll say about knowing Justin Pearson's family, very well educated and people who've been actively engaged in the soil of fighting in Memphis. And if you notice when you see any of that footage, you will see an older gentleman standing behind him giving him energy. That's his father. And his mother and father have really done a wonderful job with him.
But you can see that. But he's also a Howardite, so.
That's true.
So, you know, I don't know.
And he's a mentee from Representative Barbara Cooper.
Okay.
She really handpicked and worked with him before she passed.
Okay. Barbara Cooper, parents, Howard, the capstone, that's the jewel in his crown. I don't know what else to tell you. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is a lot. Reverend?
Yes.
Okay, Daddy, what do you, could I get Joseph and Dwight to have people come to the convention?
They must.
Okay, let me do that.
All right.
I get this done, Peter.
No, Reverend, I think your energy's going down just a little bit. I want to get you booted up for the next hour, okay?
15
All right.
seconds.
So just stand by. Well, stand by.
10 seconds.
You're listening to Keep Hope Alive. We want to hear from you. Please email your questions and comments to Reverend Jesse Jackson at keephopealiveradio.com.
1.
Hey, everybody, stay tuned for the second hour of Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. We have been so excited as we watch the two Justin's Tennessee state representatives, Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, get back into the Tennessee State House, but they don't have committee assignments. But they don't have their credentials. They cannot move freely around the Capitol. They are in another phase of the fight, and we've got to talk about that, everybody. And you're trying to get them up here to our convention, July 15th through the 19th, Joseph Kiles.
That's right. And we're asking all of the organizations that are in Tennessee who've been effective in working with this group. We've got many action legislative pieces. We're going to do our part to make sure that they have the information and that they join us in Chicago for the International Rainbow Push Convention.
What do you think that they would get out of the convention?
I think they would get an opportunity to connect with like minds, resources, information, because to every action, there's a reaction. And we need to have a real strong connective message as we move forward. To every action, there's a reaction.
Dwight McKee, 1 minute. Why should people come to this convention?
To care to share. They, as Brother Kyle said, they will meet like-minded people, truly minded, state on freedom, just like they have. You get a chance to share information, share enthusiasm, and to share energy. This is a long road, as Dr. King said, a long meandering road. And sometimes you wear down and wear out, and you need to be re-energized. And you meet people like yourself who similar experiences. There's an automatic kinship. It's like Brother Kyle's. I already feel akin to him, having never met him, but knowing his family, knowing his experiences, knowing his church background, coming from the same hometown. And so I'm anxious to meet him because I know that not only will we connect,
yes,
we will share resources.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Back in just a minute.
Thank you for listening to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. For more information on upcoming shows and guests, please visit our website at www.keephopealiveradio.com.
Natasha Bradley says Mayor Brandon is going to need a lot of help. It's not enough to get him elected. I'm so glad that you recognize that, Natasha. As you can see, Joseph, you just said it's right. I mean, wow. Wow. These guys are in that kind of fight. It's like because they can't move freely around that campus.
Yeah, they're working through it, and I think that because you have some members on the Black Caucus that are helping kind of knock that down. What is being explained to the supermajority right now is if they do anything to exacerbate the situation, it's only going to continue that national press, and they're using that as leverage to make sure that they allow them to be able to have the access of duly elected members.
Wow. Are we coming up now? Is that clock off by 25
That one.
seconds?
It's off by
Good
no,
morning
it's not off.
and welcome to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily the views of this station, but strictly of our host and his guest. To speak with Reverend Jackson live, call toll free 1-866-594-HOPE. That's 1-866-594-4673. And now, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
The great Queen of Soul. Indeed, many people say that she's the greatest popular singer ever produced in the history of American music. That is the great Aretha Franklin, a native of Memphis, Tennessee. And of course, our story is emanating from Memphis today, from Tennessee. The two Justins, state representatives Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, were readmitted to the House of Representatives of the great state of Tennessee. But it turns out that that's just phase one of the fight. There is a tougher fight that is before them, getting their credentials, getting committee assignments, really being able to deliver to their constituents. They are being thwarted in those efforts. They are not being allowed to do the job that the people elected them to do. And one can only see right now someone more moderate, someone African-American, someone who doesn't have an afro, someone who's not as loud, someone who's not apt to grab the bullhorn and go on the floor after all these people have been killed in this Christian school. Maybe they want someone else. Well, I hope the people don't fall for the okie doke. So let's talk about this with Reverend Jesse Jackson on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. And we will be talking about this issue and so many more. July 15th through the 19th. Everybody, please, Miss Yvonne, Jewel, Michael Douglas. Hey, my sweet, my dear friend, Natasha, everyone, Dave, you should come on in from Canada. Mildred, everybody, come on in, Michael, Ann, to the Rainbow Push International Conference. It will be wonderful. And it'll be a great opportunity for us to be together. We have got Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers talking to us about the roadblocks that can be put before you when you are a legislator. Oh yeah, this politics, Reverend Jackson, of not just getting elected, but navigating your way on Capitol Hill in Washington or at the state houses. Wow, Reverend, we've got Attorney Darrell Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and Dwight McKee of founding member of Rainbow Push, National Action Network, noted social scientist. We're going to have Aaron Connolly up in a hot second. But Reverend Jackson, before we go to break, you were about to say?
In the White League, which is called Major. Now you got to come to play Tibet. You in technically, but can you perform?
Mm.
And he hit more times the first year than that league than hit year before by pitchers.
He said he was dinged by the pitcher, hit by the pitcher more with these fastballs than at any time than anyone else.
Edmund Joe almost broke his jaw. So the first base, and they spent more time trying to injure him first and to step on the bag. For example, the price he had to pay to enable us to play today, and a lot of us have found out by those who benefit, but they've been detached from my struggle. Everybody baseball player ought to be grateful for those something to make it happen.
Well, everybody ought to be grateful, Reverend, because indeed the people who are first pay the high price. They do the heavy lifting. I can, people have told me I need to write a memoir about some of the things that we saw as you made these historic runs for the presidency from within the party and from outside of it, but particularly from within.
Thank you. Yes, I was it. Yes, Bishop.
Well, Reverend, when we come back from the break, when we come back from the break, I want you to say that we got a heart out. We'll be back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes, July 15th through the 19th. July 15th through the 19th, 2023. Go to rainbowpush.org, get registered for the convention. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be something special. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes.
Your opinion counts. 1-866-594-HOPE. That's
Reverend.
1-866.
Yes.
Okay, I need you to get that energy back up because I'm not understanding you now.
Okay.
So remember, this is an unforgiving medium. There is no visual component. It's just radio. So it is more important than ever for people to understand you, okay? So just slow down. And don't make it complicated. Just slow down.
Okay.
Thank you. I mean, Attorney Jones, can you get Aaron up? Are you surprised? I mean, there no one is talking about what the two Justins are having to deal with now. I mean, like at all. No one has heard that Eric Holder is involved. I mean, no one's even talking about that.
Yeah, and that becomes, I think that shows some of the importance of particularly Black media and Black press to be certain that, we tell the narrative of what's going on within the community. Because, we know that as they call it, the majority press right now, they're not covering it. There's not a lot of information that's out there on it. But, it's one of those things where, we've got to be certain that the word gets out there. And once I think the word is out there, that our communities will respond. Because they recognize that it's wrong what's happening to Justin. But in order for them to know that it's wrong, they got to know what's going on. And I'm not completely shocked by what the Tennessee General Assembly is doing, because they're really just trying to flex that muscle to be certain that they try to keep others in line as much as it's meant for Justin. It's probably meant for the other members of the General Assembly as well, to let them know the power that they have. Mm-hmm. But again. It's going to be the response from it. When they saw the response from expelling them across the country, they now need to see the response of trying to dethrone them of their committees. They respond to power, and that's what they need to see, is the response from the people with regards to what's happening. So, that's what I see, going on right now in Tennessee, is that we just keep them on the social and then
Attorney Erin Connolly, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much.
Erin, we were talking about the fight that the two Justins have. Now their fight isn't, obviously trying to get their credentials. And State Representative Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers, who I'm going to bring back on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard the last hour, but she's been talking about, we've got a progressive governor there, right? He's flexing on her. But I mean, coming out of Chicago, Dwight, no one can be shocked.
Not surprising.
That's why the partisan talk is something that I resist. Dwight, I've got about less than a minute.
Yeah, but the levers of power are very broad if you know how to press them. And so this is not a fight, a local fight, it's a national fight. But government, again, is only part of a broader process. We have other means that we can bring to bear, like boycotts, like demonstrations, like picketing, like withholding our funds from different companies, like lobbying. I mean, there are a lot of levels of power that we can use. One of the things that Dr. King and Reverend Jackson was tremendously effective at was using consumer power to neutralize government power and authoritative power. And so when we was looking to try to put a mayor
seconds.
in, one of the things he did, this was River Jackson, was he boycotted Chicago Fest. And Stevie Wonder did not come to Chicago Fest. And it changed the thinking of the administration and put us in a position ultimately to get a black mayor.
Hold on.
There are a lot of levers of power
Stand
available.
Stand by.
If you know how to use it.
Stand by. You all, when you all hear my voice, I've got a heart out. Stand by.
Lisa Jeans. I believe you ought to say it one more time.
I love it. This is great. This is the kind of church I grew up with. Love it, love it, love it, everybody. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you. Hope you'll join me every weekday morning, Monday through Friday, on the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, WCPT 820. It used to be Air America, but now it is WCPT and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Indeed, our mayor-elect had a radio show there just before he started running for office. And guess what? Jeremy Geiger, my technical producer, he was my fill-in host. Whenever I was out, the mayor-elect would fill in. I had him fill in for me on my show. Yay, yay, yay. What a come up. Oh, my goodness. I love it. I love it. I love it. Everybody, call us at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. Joining Attorney Darrell Jones and Dwight McKeon, Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers is Attorney Aaron Connolly. Before we pivot to you, Aaron Connolly, and we're going to hear from Reverend Jackson, but people have some questions for you, State Representative Myers, that we need you to answer. Reverend Jackson, this is a big, 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 big fight. I think it's a little bigger than many of us really even thought was before us. Reverend Jackson?
Not just go over the top of the ticket. We'll go volume up, not just top down. Mayor's matter. County commissioners matter. Legislators matter. Judges matter. Oh, let me get the tickets like going grocery shopping. Those are get tape, get the meat until I got my groceries. All the stuff to go get the meat has to be up in the table. Politics the same way.
Wisconsin State Representative Myers, there's a question from Tracy Lewis, and I want to bring this up. She said, "Good morning. Please ask Representative Myers for more specifics on the issue that had her threatened by Governor Evers in Wisconsin. That is a serious allegation," she wrote.
Very true. It has been well documented. We had a situation, I think it was 2 sessions ago, and I can, not just myself, but other legislators as well, over the course of time, have been threatened with loss of staff. And this is both Democrats and Republicans. When you don't agree with leadership, whether that be your party leadership in the Capitol, they will use the leadership in the legislature to say, how will this person be disciplined? It has happened to former State Representative Leon Young, when he agreed with he was a former police officer. And when we had, I believe it was concealed carry in the state of Wisconsin, I believe that was the bill, and he didn't go along and told the party lie. His staff was taken away from him. His committees were removed. So it's not an uncommon process. It's just something that we don't talk about often. It doesn't come up as often in our time now, unless it's a contentious piece of legislation. And that's something that we have to remember. I mean, we're not paid to agree all of the time with our party. So independent thinking becomes an issue.
And so you deal with that kind of impression from that kind of oppression from within the party as well.
It happens. It's not, when you are an independent thinker, that does not bode well all the time with the establishment. But I think that is what makes me effective, because I'm trying to stand for what's right and for what's for my community. You know, my disagreement with regard to redistricting, Senator Taylor and I spoke in our respective chambers regarding redistricting when there was going to be an open assault on African American representation in the state of Wisconsin. And that was done again with the maps that were drawn by the People's Map Commission from our governor, that was led by our governor. And I basically said on the House floor, I'm not going to go along with voting for any plan that would diminish the ability for a person of color to represent a district in the city of Milwaukee, because that is where we hold a majority of our seats. Because you can't cut a district in half for an opportunity for a Democratic district. When throughout the course of history, and since 1848, there have been roughly maybe 23 African Americans that have served in the state legislature.
Unbelievable. Attorney Erin Connolly, your thoughts? Because now we see the two Justins having been readmitted to the House of Representatives for the state of Tennessee, the General Assembly. They have another fight on their hands. They do not have their credentials. I mean, they don't have, they don't have the stuff that they need to work effectively. And now they're being threatened with, they're still being threatened with having resources withheld from their constituents because of their stance.
Right, they're on the team, but they're not on the right to play.
There's that.
Right. In Tennessee, I was so lucky to be an organizer nationally with the great Gloria Johnson, who introduced me to Justin Jones way back in the day, before they were in the legislature, when they were marching on issues like gun violence prevention, saving the ACA, trying to get health care for the millions of folks in Tennessee that were underserved. So they know that this is a long game, right? And the Republicans seem to underestimate their resolve and the amazing coalition of strong, deep roots that they have supporting them. And we saw the young people come out, but they did not play the long game well. And the Justins and Gloria and their strong coalition, they are ready for this fight. They've been fighting for years. And they expect the systems and power in Tennessee to come for them in every way possible. And they're prepared, but we have to do more. And what we were able to do nationally is recognize what was happening, pay attention, and mobilize on a bigger level. And we have to be ready to do that for the next Tennessee 3 in Arizona.
Because this is happening all over the country, right, Attorney Connolly? Oh,
yeah, it's happening a lot of places.
Well, State Representative Myers, why don't you speak to that? I mean, because this is a no, it's okay. It's a conversation. It's a national fight. I mean, which is something that was outlined in David Daley's New York Times bestseller, Rat Act, The True Story of the Secret Plan to Steal Our Democracy. It wasn't just about the presidency. These top Republican operatives said, look, you can have the presidency right after President Obama won. They said, okay, you got it. But what we're going to do is take everything underneath him. We're going to capture the state houses. We're going to become the governors. We're going to capture the judgeships. We're going to take everything. We lost more than 1,000 seats during the Obama years and lost control of states.
Coming even for municipal government, when you look at the uproar and the uptick in more conservative individuals running for school boards. to operate the dollars that often operate independently with school boards. And so you look at a elected school board member position, and there's been a lot of turmoil across the country about people trying to upset the apple cart when it comes to school boards and more municipal level elected offices. So this is the game plan. If you think about what ALEC has done in the last couple of years, this is the next frontier. When you look at what happened in Tennessee with both justices being expelled from their positions, there is a bill that just had a hearing in Wisconsin, AB 95, that would affect local elected officials. It doesn't touch state elected officials, but it goes specifically after municipal and locally elected officials. So that is your district attorney. If you look at what has happening with Donald Trump and the correlation between what's going on with Fonnie Willis in Atlanta and what's happening with Alvin Bragg, those are locally elected officials that are doing these federal level type investigations, but they're happening at the state level with local districts that they represent. So if Republicans can get rid of Fonnie Willis, they don't have a problem. If you can get rid of an Alvin Bragg, you don't have a problem. If you can get rid of a Janet Protege in Wisconsin, who is now a circuit court judge, you can get rid of her. She won't be able, to work as a state Supreme Court justice. So this is a concerted effort to tick these progressives off one by one in local elected offices. If you can control the district attorney, you can control a city like Milwaukee, which is what folks want to do in Wisconsin.
Hey, who just said, was that you, Attorney Jones?
Sorry about that, Cynthia.
No, that's fine.
To Representative Myers speak, it just reminded me, I just had a conversation with Ben Wickler, who's the head of the Democratic Party for the state of Wisconsin. And we were talking about the very issue with regards to the legislation that's in place in Wisconsin and the proposed legislation. The proposed legislation would deal with their locally elected officials, saying that if they're removed from office for cause or resign during a removal proceeding, that they would be ineligible to fill the office that they're now going to fill from the vacancy. It's my understanding that in Wisconsin currently, that if a state representative is expelled, that they cannot come back to that seat. They're prohibited right now by the Wisconsin law from running for that seat with the expulsion proceeding that's taken place. The fear is that concept in Wisconsin is going to spread to states like Tennessee. And so you wouldn't have the opportunity to have the two justices step back in their seat if they are expelled during their period that they're elected to office. So it really does become a thing where you're quieting the voices of voters in a backdoor kind of way and stopping the voters from having in place the person they want to have represent.
I mean, so.
Attorney Jones, and when you look at how this plays at the national landscape, I hope that our communities are paying attention, because it's like a faucet. You can start with a slow drip and then it ends up looking like Hurricane Katrina, because all of this is happening step by step by step and systematically. When you look at what is happening in Jackson, Mississippi right now, where they are having to sue their way out of what the legislature has done with creating basically an apartheid type governmental system just for the city of Jackson, because Jackson is a primarily Black city. And they want to get rid of the folks that have been elected in Jackson, Mississippi. So there is no difference to me in what's happening in Jackson than what's happening in Tennessee, than what's happening in Wisconsin, than what's happening in Chicago. All of these things are linked together. There is an assault on progressive attitude, inequity, with folks trying to not have our votes count. All of these things are working in tandem with each other.
Reverend Jackson?
Comes down to it. You heard the Confederacy.
It comes down to what, Reverend Jackson?
Around the Texas, The same big ideology that works NASA and the company is the metastasized. They're not following Lincoln's more perfect union. Jefferson Davis, slavery protection, segregation, sedition, and white male supremacy. And the ideology they're following. You can almost call them conservatives. These are conservatives. And coming from the Creed, Dr. Cat Vega, she said, we need to separate the South and the North in terms of the budget process. The fact is, every Southern state gets 30% of this budget. Federal government, they couldn't survive a month. Federal government. They still hold the dream of white male supremacy nation.
You know, I mean, so where does that put us right now, Dwight McKee? Because you said, you know, look, we've got to look at this, the election we just had in Chicago. You can't just look at it in racial terms. You have to look at it in ideological terms, because you have some Black people who will support, you know, these other positions for various and sundry reasons. Dwight McKee.
Well, you know, it's very interesting to see how these things shape up. And like I said, that we have to broaden the fight because the consequences are broad. And even though the decisions in Haiti are operating at a state legislative level, the consequences will cut across the grain. There'll be educational consequences to that. There will be legal consequences to it. There'll be tax consequences to it. When these local officials decide to make their mind up, they're making their mind up to take hold of the levers of power and literally suffocate us of due process. And so we have to fight on a broad level. We have to bring all of us there in the fight. Reverend Jackson remembers that when Arizona resisted making Dr. King's birthday holiday, we called for a national boycott of Arizona. And the Black ball players refused to play there. And sports teams started boycotting going there. And people who had planned vacations canceled their vacations until the state legislature remitted in that position. In the government, by the time we finished, we're singing, "Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you."
Dr. King. That's right. Hey, that's why you need to be at the Rainbow Push International Conference, July 15th through the 19th. I mean, because I think we really need to understand the parameters of this struggle. State Representative Myers, I've got about a minute before we go to break.
I think that we all have to pay closer attention to how all of this is woven together and realize that there's nothing that is isolated. That, you know, that happens in our own town, you know, our own state. There's nothing that just happens to us. We are totally interdependent on each other. And the struggle in Tennessee is my struggle as well in Wisconsin. The struggle that's in Atlanta is the same struggle that's in Chicago, that we all have to depend on each other. And that when one of our, when one of us doesn't have adequate representation, it can happen to us. Mm-hmm. It's not, oh, look what happened in Memphis. That sure is sad for those people. No, I am those people. And we have to go to the Rainbow Push Conference to learn. You know, if you're thinking about running for office, do the due diligence to understand the history behind the office that you're running for, and understand that when you get there, you just continue. The baton is passed to you and you continue on, but the fight stays the same.
Everybody, I want you to call us at 773-FREEDOM throughout the week, and please come to the International Conference. We'll be talking about these issues and more. Remember, we're on the precipice of 2024. This fight is here. It is on, and it's your fight. It's your fight. Don't let other people fight it for you. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes.
Listen, my way may not be easy. You did not say that it would be. But if it get done,
Your opinion counts. 1-866-59.
Ooh.
Well, that James or something, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I mean, to think that he and Reverend Evans were in a group together. Woo.
Mm-hmm. Lord, there'll be a hole out to my change come.
Yes, Reverend.
I'm wrong, right?
Oh, you gone now?
Yeah, 8:30.
I didn't know you were leaving. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay. You want to say something? You want to say goodbye to the audience then, Reverend?
Yeah.
You can do it right now.
Okay.
But Dad, you have to get close to the phone.
These gentlemen does a real favor by merging and then not church on it. You speak the best of English to the college man speaking. You know, we've so dragged into localism and rapping so long that we think that's natural. It's a norm. It's a low norm. These guys live in a high norm. That's what impressed me about Pierce and Johnson. They have a high norm for us. I'm glad about it.
Well, Reverend, we want everyone to come to the convention July 15th through the 19th. You can see that when people say back in the civil rights days, oh, goodness gracious, the struggle continues and it goes from generation to generation.
Every Saturday morning we have a town hall meeting. Every Saturday morning this week we hope to have Justin, John, and Pierce with us. Every Saturday morning there'll be a town hall meeting, okay? 9 o'clock a.m., 10 o'clock on live television around the nation and around the world.
Well, Reverend, okay. Are you gone now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Church, thank you.
Okay, love you.
Take care, Rev.
Have
a great day.
Jesse Jackson. Call 1-866-594-HOPE. That's 1-866-594-4673.
I want to share with you a little story that I heard. And I'm sure that many of us can identify with it. A young man who went swimming the other day went on out into deep water. His father and uncles were standing on the bank. When they looked up, this young man was about to drown. Something had happened while out there trying to swim, and they saw him going down. Naturally, his family, especially his father, got excited, got nervous, but the father couldn't swim. And you know how it is standing by, want to do something for a child. You are helpless. So the father reached around and just so happened there was a rope there. And he took that rope and threw it. Hallelujah. And said, son, catch hold to the rope. The young man caught the rope. The father started to pull it in. But he looked up and saw that the rope was breaking. And he cried to his father, Father, my rope is breaking. The father replied to the son by saying, reach beyond the break and hold on. Look at somebody
reach beyond the break. The iconic Reverend Clay Evans, my pastor, our pastor. My father was his youth pastor, and he became the chairman of the board of Operation Push and became my father's spiritual father, became a grandfather to all of my 4 other siblings. And I just thank God for him today. Thank God for Reverend Clay Evans today and all that he will always mean to all of us. And the great thing about that church, when you go to fellowship, there's not a bad seat in the church. If you're all the way in the back of the top row, you have the same view as someone on the front row. That's how he designed the church. And that is Reverend Clay Evans. And that was how he pastored. If you were in the back row at the top, you had the same kind of closeness to him that I did. God bless him. Thank you, Reverend Clay Evans. And Mrs. Luther May Evans, who kept her home open, Dwight McKee, to everybody. And they had 5 wonderful children. I guess that's probably the great statement. Each one of them so decent, such wonderful human beings. We just thank God for Reverend Clay Evans today. I am Santita Jackson. Reverend Jackson had to leave us. He's going to church this morning, and we want you to come to our international conference July 15th through the 19th. Go to rainbowpush.org, get registered, and if you have some problems on the website, call us at 773-FREEDOM in the morning, and come to the Rainbow Push International broadcast. Come on Saturday at 930 East 50th Street. Let's gather together, Dwight, as you said, so that we can see each other and talk to each other and be encouraged by each other. We're seeing the 2 Justins in Tennessee, along with Gloria Johnson. She stood with them. Let us not forget that. They are under attack as we speak. Indeed, one of the Justins has had to hire the former Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder, because they have to be lawyered up. They don't have their credentials, everybody. They're in another phase of the same struggle. It's another phase. So we've got to keep our eyes open. Attorney Darrell Jones, Dwight McKee, Attorney Erin Connolly, Wisconsin State Representative Myers. Before I go to the rest of the panel, Wisconsin State Representative Myers, we don't know, all of those intricacies, and many of us would be willing to dismiss. Because we're being encouraged to, just to blindly engage in partisanship instead of really understanding the nature of power. Because your own Democratic governor came after you, right? We had a Democratic mayor in Chicago who, you had to really work with the Republicans when I was growing up in Chicago. Right, Dwight? You could work with Governor Ogilvie. You could work with Jim Thompson. You could work with them. It was the Democrats who had their knee, if you don't mind, on our necks. And you're from Chicago. You know that.
When people think of Chicago, they think about the patronage system, and they think about, the Mayor Daley's and people like that. They don't think about having to cross party lines in order to get a hearing. So in certain respects in Wisconsin, we have to do the same thing with the Republican Party. If I think we, have a great piece of legislation, that doesn't mean it's going to be heard in a committee. It doesn't mean it's going to receive a hearing just because it's introduced. So we have to do that same type of bidding, if you will, even to get a hearing. For instance, the Crown Act. The Crown Act should be a no-brainer piece of legislation. We've had public hearings twice, 2 to 3 times in the Assembly, never had one in the Senate. I don't know if it will be heard this year, this session, but we continue to keep having to, fight the same fight for equity that we have. So it's like you're fighting on 2 fronts. You can fight internally for equity at the table with your own party. You also have to fight, of course, forces that are outside that. So it is a constant battle of trying to navigate and walk these tightrope. We didn't even talk about some of the things that we have to do when you have to pay money. You can be taken off a committee if you don't pay your money, your dues, to even try to, serve on certain committees. You have to pay a certain amount of money. So there are things that people just don't.
No. You got to explain that one. Stop it. Come on. I see. I saw our brother go through this when he was in Congress, Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. And the lead person who would get you was Rahm Emanuel.
2018. I went through that process.
Mhm.
I was not an incumbent. I took out an incumbent that had been in my district 14 years. So when I was elected, because of grassroots efforts, my friends and family donating money to my campaign and was able to win that election, don't think that when I took office in January, about a month in, I received a bill that said, you owe us this session, let's say $3,600 per year. And I said, why? You didn't help me get elected. And they said, well, these are the caucus dues that we expect everyone to pay, because it will help. We will help you the next time, help you win.
Huh.
I said, oh no, ma'am. I was born at night, but not last night. I have no food for me this session because you didn't help me try to get elected. I wish I would. Doing that. And they said, well, everybody has to do that. No, I'm not everybody. I said, we're not doing that.
And they will jam you. They did that to my brother, Jesse. Oh yeah, no, they did that. I mean, because the person who came and asked and demanded 6 figures of you when he was in Congress was Rahm Emanuel. That's part of the reason that he has this bulldog reputation, because that is exactly what he was. And and we have to, and those are the party politics, but remember, the party is a private corporation. It is not a government entity. It's a business, right?
Trying to dictate to the other what they do. But yeah, they try to do that.
Whew. I mean, wow. It's just, Dwight, it's dangerous what we do not know. And Dwight, before you continue, Patty Henley is sending us her love. Hello.
Patty Cake.
So you tell me, so where do we go from here, Dwight?
That's the kind of information that needs to be shared, because people really don't understand government and how it works. And people think that government is this generic, objective, fair, equitable situation, not understanding that it's a business and people are making business decisions. And sometimes you have to buy your way in or buy your way out. It's no accident that in Illinois these days, to be the governor, you have to be a billionaire or almost a billionaire.
Wow.
State, and it requires a lot to get there. And the average person has a very difficult time being able to raise the money or getting a profile or getting exposed in such a way that he can get those votes you need to win. They hold you hostage. The party does. And by the time they finish with you, not only have you've lost your objectivity, you've really lost your virginity, because they really, really, really make you stick to the party line. And that's why it's important for people to be involved, because people's involvement neutralizes the need for that kind of money and neutralizes that kind of power and that kind of self-interest.
But I tell you what, the bulwark against all of that, Attorney Erin Connolly, is people power. And I think that people need to understand the power that we have, not just in our vote, but that's the beginning, right? But when these elected officials see you sitting at their office, or when they get email from you and phone calls from you, and when you march on the Capitals, when you march on their offices, they listen. Attorney Connolly?
Have to listen. And anybody that I know that's been in the arena in a real way has done that type of work, right? And that's where I've found the most hope, the most humanity, and to be honest with you, the most desperation in our society is sitting outside of a Senate office or a congressional office with family members of people who, lost someone to gun violence, who are suffering their own healthcare issues and bankruptcy because of the system that we're put in, people who have been through difficulties with our justice system where folks are wrongly incarcerated and wrongly targeted disproportionately, right, as in corrupt systems and terrible prison conditions for folks with disabilities. So this is where you can make change, but it's hard work. And I know everybody on this call has done that hard work and has been inspired by so many Americans across generations, from the civil rights movement to, parents who are fighting for basic health care for their children in America today, without having these children be declared bankrupt before they even turn 18 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And fighting for life-saving medication that is available for free, basically, everywhere else in the world, but not in the United States of America. Fighting for health care for women that's equitable. In the United States, it's more dangerous to give birth in America as a Black woman than in many countries around the world. How is this possible? How is this what we're still on the front lines about? Some basic things. And so we've seen the impact that these stories have, that the testimony of our communities have. And what I saw yesterday at Rainbow Push, and I'm so honored to be a part of this movement, as a part of this Rainbow Push family, to welcome Mayor Brandon Johnson, an amazing father and leader and man of faith, of true faith. And that's a big difference for me. And we felt that yesterday. I felt it was a worship. It was a celebration, and we got to hear Stampede sing, which is always my favorite type of Saturday. So that was a special treat as well. But it was this joy. He brings this joy and hope. And 40 years after Harold Washington was mayor, I think we can look at some of the lessons of that administration. I think we have a coalition to really, truly bring everyone together for a greater good. And I'm hopeful that the people power that I see in Chicago, that I've seen throughout national movements, and the folks that are leading this charge, the Brandon Johnsons, the Jonathan Jacksons, the Delia Ramirez's, the local people on city council that have new ideas and new energy and are ready to do the work. They've been here before. This is, again, you look at Tennessee and folks like the Justins and Gloria. These are folks that are trained, that are forged in these great battles of organizing and civil rights and justice. And I really have faith that we can move this people power into into real policy power. And what we're able to see, and what we saw in Tennessee, and what we see from so many amazing folks on this panel, and folks that we heard from yesterday, and folks that won their city council races in Chicago and won races in Wisconsin. And there is a momentum there and a hunger for a new solution, right? There's an understanding that what we've been doing isn't working for enough people. And we're willing to be a little bolder about it. And I think Chicago has an opportunity to show that progress, especially with the convention coming to Chicago. And what will be on display is a full progressive movement that's engaged, community-driven, and is a reflection of the work that the Rainbow Push Coalition has done in this city for so many years.
Well, we're going to make that happen, everybody. I want you to call us throughout the week at 773-FREEDOM, 773-FREEDOM, July 15th through the 19th. That is our international conference. Yvonne, Latino Voices Matter. I'm so glad that you're going to be coming to the convention. Can't wait to see you, girly. It's going to be a great convention, and you will make it so. Please go to rainbowpush.org and get registered. July 15th through the 19th. We'll be talking about these issues and so many more. Can't wait to get closing thoughts from you, Attorney Darrell Jones and Dwight McKee, and Attorney Aaron Connolly, and Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers. Can't wait to have you back in Chicago. So, because we need to have a session on what happens in state government. I mean, tie Tennessee to Wisconsin, to Jackson, Tennessee, to Jackson, Mississippi, and on and on and on and on. It's all one fight, everybody. It's one fight. And it's your fight. The good news is the struggle continues and victory is certain if you continue with the struggle. So keep on fighting, everybody. Get some closing thoughts on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Hope you'll meet me on my show, The Santita Jackson Show, the syndicated Santita Jackson Show on the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, WCPT 820 and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Going to get some closing thoughts from this magnificent panel in just a few minutes.
Beyond the break. Hold on.
Coming up, we'll have closing thoughts from Reverend Jesse Jackson right here on Keep Hope Alive.
Santita,
Yes.
I would say I would hope that Rainbow Push reaches out to NBCSL and Noble Women to get all of the elected officials to come to Chicago for the conference.
No,
so they
work
can,
with me on that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's work together. Let's make that happen.
Because I think we sometimes get in silos too and think, you're elected, you've arrived, but they need training too. I see it every day. And, when McKee was talking about all of the things that we learn and what we do, that network also works on the flip side, not just for people power, but also with elected officials. I work with too many people that, think just because the party says do it, you're supposed to do it, that they don't think for themselves and even understand the backstory about what Reverend has done, what Dr. King has done, and that some of these things that we point out and say, this is the same thing that happened 20, 30 years ago that we're being confronted with today, and they don't know the backstory.
Well, and so look, let's keep it 100, okay? So many people are so glad to get invited to the party.
There you go.
Okay. And many people
they just have
talk,
to be there.
oh, come on. They talk high junk, but they are, they are an invitation to the big house away from throwing everybody under the bus.
You're right.
And come on. I've seen it happen too many times.
We saw it last week in Chicago.
What do you mean, Dwight? Now, Dwight's terrible. See, girl, you better get on away from him before you lose your seat. What happened, Dwight, in Chicago?
We saw the big house mentality last week in Chicago.
It's a real thing.
It's that the only problem was that the party was in the field rather than the big house. They miscalculated. But the invitation to the big house, they just got there and wasn't nobody there.
You talk about not understanding. Well, you're not understanding, the times in which we're living. The zeitgeist is saying something else. People out
But
here.
they miscalculated that.
Oh, yeah. People out here starving.
They told it.
Rationing insulin. I mean, are you for real? Who can afford to send their child to the University of Chicago? It is $100,000 a year for an undergraduate.
Oh my God.
Yes, as is NYU. NYU's $98,000. Excuse me. Okay. I mean, this is where this is going. This is out of reach for us.
Yeah.
And people ought to be furious about it. You don't want to tie inflation to the fact that these corporations have been allowed to operate unfettered. They just make up prices and just make money from us. We give you the money to develop some medicine that's decreasing in efficacy, by the way. But I got to pay you more money, and then you take all the profits. Are you what? Girl, look, Yeah, I'm putting it right
Days
here.
of Dr. Talk are long gone.
Oh, please.
With no liability.
No liability.
Right.
Because of something Reagan put corporate power put together in 1986. You can't sue a pharmaceutical company for injury. Oh, come on. For medicine, that, and particularly when it comes to vaccines, they need to stop it. And that'll get me put off the radio. I hear you. You all need to stop it. Really. I'm not your enemy. I'm your friend and your advocate. So there's
You're
that.
listening to Keep Hope Alive. We want to hear
Okay,
from
we're
you.
going to have
Please
just under a
email
minute for
your
everybody.
questions
When
or
you hear my
comments
voice,
to
that means
Reverend
move on
Jesse
because we got to
Jackson
get out.
at keephopealiveradio.com.
All right, everybody, closing thoughts, July 15th through the 19th, Rainbow Push, and we have a paint and sip party at Rainbow Push in Chicago, 930 50th Street on Saturday, the 22nd. You don't want to miss it. It's $50. We're raising money, trying to keep the doors open. Let me start with you, Attorney Erin Connolly. 1 minute.
Well, I just want to thank you and everyone at Rainbow Push for the day yesterday, where we welcomed Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson to Rainbow Push, and he preached to us, as you know, is always my favorite part of listening to Brandon Johnson, who's been a part of the progressive movement in Chicago for as long as I've been a part of it, when I moved home and came back to organize here. And he shows up for our people in ways that, you know, in this business you don't see all the time. Brandon was there from the beginning with now Congresswoman Delia Ramirez when she ran for state rep, and was at every single office launch event and stood by her side, advocating for her, knocking on doors, doing the work. That's the type of person he is, right?
Yeah.
And he shows up for everyone in the movement that way. And that's what I hear from everyone. I know he'll show up for the people of Chicago in the same way. I'm so excited.
Oh, amen. And you know, we'll have to stay on him so that can be so, because you get the little whispers in the corner, because that's the real part of politics too. And we have to keep him free. That's what we have to understand. We're the ones who are going to keep him free and keep him showing up for us. That's what we have to do. Because when these people roll up on him, Aaron, he'll have to say, if y'all don't do this, I'm out of here. So I got to go to them. These are my people. That's how politics works. Attorney Gerald Jones, just under a minute.
First, let me wish and express my congratulations to the people in Tennessee for showing up to support Justice Jones and Justin Pearson, as well as Representative Gloria Johnson. It's because they're showing up and showing out that we start to see the reversal of the trend of trying to expel them and having them reinstated. So congratulations to the people and showing of the people power. We ask, though, Santita, that we continue to show up, we continue to show out, and we continue to push so that Justin Pearson and Jones can get their full committee assignments all back in place. And let's also keep in prayer Crystal Mason, who goes up for her hearing in Dallas, Texas on Tuesday to make a determination whether or not she has to go back to prison. We'll be there. We'll bring you the results from that.
Absolutely. We'll talk about that, if not tomorrow, Tuesday. Dwight McKee. Well, you know what, Dwight, if you don't mind, let me go to Wisconsin State Representative Myers. I've got under a minute. I've got 30 seconds for you.
The struggle is all of ours. I think that we have to continue doing the work, understanding how nothing is isolated. And if you come to Rainbow Push, you will get trained and continue the good fight.
Amen to that. July 15th through the 19th. Dwight McKee, 10 seconds for you.
Who put the bow in the rainbow, who transcends the whips of the culture.
All stand by.
Thank you for listening to Keep Reverend Jesse Jackson. For more information on upcoming shows and guests, please visit our website at www.keephopealiveradio.com.
But keep talking, Dwight. I'm still on Facebook Live. People are still listening.
Yeah, who transcends the worst of the culture to represent the best of humanity, and who is beyond race, beyond class, beyond caste. They're just good, decent people who believes in equity and democracy and put their lives on the line every day to help make that happen. We really appreciate people like you all, Aaron.
And it really does go beyond color, because the problem goes beyond color. How about that? Thank God, Aaron, you don't have to ration your insulin. But heaven knows that could be true. I mean, that's what's so awful about all of this. And that's why this is everybody's fight. This is everybody's fight. Does anyone have anything that they would like to say before we get out of here? Okay. I think that's it. Well, I love you all. I love you. So many of my morning stars joined us today. And it's always a joy to be with you. I'll be with you in the morning, trying to figure out what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. But there is so much. I certainly want to bring back to fore the fight that the two Justins are in. Because if you don't have your credentials, you literally cannot move around the Capitol. You can't. They won't let you in certain rooms. You don't have the right to move freely. And, and they were threatened before they were reseated with being denied resources for their districts if they went back into those offices. So we're seeing that is still in effect. It's a fight, everybody. And you need to understand that is the fight that Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers is in. Wisconsin State Representative, and I'd like for you to speak to this, Wisconsin State Representative Myers, before we go. Miss Hanks, I love you, girl. Tracy Lewis, and you've been so active. I think it's my girl Tracy, who I've known forever. Love you. She was saying that it was a mistake for State Senator Lena Taylor to align herself with the Republicans. She said that was not smart. She said aligning with the Wisconsin Republican Party is a mistake. The word gets out. GOP has endorsed Lena Taylor multiple times, and it's not turning out well. It would be better to increase Milwaukee voter turnout. Unfortunately, easier said than done. They deal with a lot of voter suppression and oppression in Milwaukee. What do you say to that, Wisconsin State Representative Myers?
Well, I would say that I think you have to look at the body of Lena's work in her totality. Mm-hmm. There is no sitting state legislator that has gotten more bills passed and more resources to her, not just her district, but has made sure to look out for every affinity group in the entire state. When you look at the Bucks Arena that happened in Milwaukee, the wood that the court has played with came from the Native American Indian reservation in Wisconsin. She made sure that happened. She made sure that there was investment in the community. And you can't do that without crossing the aisle and saying, look, what is going to come out of this for my community? Mm-hmm. Don't just use us as a whipping post and try to manipulate and molest our vote to get us to show up. What comes with that vote is that you must have some type of power. And I think she has expended political power and political capital on the backs of a lot of people and has been selfless in her action in serving the state of Wisconsin.
And she wouldn't have to align herself with the Republicans if the Democrats wouldn't give her such a
hard
time.
Right. That's right.
I mean,
That's
look,
right.
I mean, this is politics.
We got too many people in the Democratic Party that are being self-serving.
That's right.
And happy to be there and not willing to go out on a limb for their constituents.
The party is an end. It's just a means. It's not the end.
That's right.
We've
it's
been
not
Republican.
The end all be all.
No, it's not. It's not. So, I mean, I hear you, Tracy, but I'm here to tell you, no. You got to work with the people who are going to work with you. And no one has been more progressive. No one has sought to deliver more, not just to Black people, but to all the people than Lena Taylor. That's the reality.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, so I'm saying I know the insults we personally have had to take from the Democratic Party. My brother, Congressman
Your
Jackson.
father was not nice.
Girl, please.
Because he ran for president. The fact that we have the party infrastructure at the DNC national level right now, and I know there are several witnesses probably on the phone and across the country that can tell you the Democratic Party in its totality was primarily a white-run organization until Reverend Jackson decided to come in and make sure that those platform planks included other affinity groups and that we would be a big tent for everybody.
Wait a minute, and he still can't get a seat at the convention.
Tell stories better than I.
And he's
that you know, when you talk about Mignon Moores and Leah Daughtry and how church folks, Black church folks, came to the party to help the coalition that we have now, it didn't exist before.
Well, and he still can't get a seat at the convention. Okay,
exactly,
literally. So, I mean, are you serious? Now, mind you, he doesn't take these things personally. Okay, he just keeps on going.
Oh, absolutely. You can't.
And I get
it. It has to roll off.
But until they get into trouble, then they call him and say, Reverend, I'm in trouble, so I need you to help me do. Okay, that's the way that works. But working with people, we couldn't work with Richard Daley. We had to, as you recall, Dwight McKee, it was Chuck Percy who was helpful to us,
Right.
the Republican senator. You remember him, Lakeisha?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could work with Chuck Percy. We could work with Richard Ogilvie. We could work. That's just the way it was in Chicago, because the great oppressors were the Democrats. They might give some middle class black folks a job, but black folks who were trapped at the bottom, which is where most of us are.
Keep those jobs.
Girl, come on, oppress us.
And it takes Michelle Obama to talk about. She wrote about it in her book, even with her own father, having to, have to go around and tell people, look, this is how we need to vote to do X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something he wanted to do, but in order for him to even have a management position, he had to do that job.
Well, absolutely. But I mean, I knew her then. She never told me that her father was that high up in the Democratic machine. She never told me. And so, it's just, those are Chicago politics.
Mm-hmm.
Those are Chicago politics, and that's politics, period. It's about power, everybody. It is. So, nobody said that when you should not get hooked up with the Democrats or the Republicans. You need to use them to have services delivered to us, to have resources delivered to us, and keep it moving. Stop falling in love with a party. A party is an inanimate object. It's nothing for you to fall in love with, and you should not fall in love anyway. You need to rise in it.
Because history has proven to us that the party platforms can switch.
They do.
There's a reason that most black folks were Republicans after the Civil War.
They do. And you know what? Socially, black people are more Republican than anything. So we're more of a mixed bag. All I'm asking is, I have some very dear friends who are black Republicans. I said, all I ask of you is that when you go into the room, you argue for us and bring something back to us. That's all I'm asking you to do. I don't think we should be out when the Republicans are in, because it's very clear we're not in when the Democrats are.
Right.
It's the same fight all the time. Do we not understand that? That would more if people arrive. No. What'd you say, Kenneth? You said Democratic machines sell you a job. Well, that's just it, honey. That's how it is. That's how it is, and I get it. But I'm just telling you, you need to understand that is how the machine works. And you have the option of not working with the machine now. You've had that option. But many people said, okay, I got to do what I got to do. I understand it. Just do not block me. Because that was the problem, Dwight, as you recall, that we would have. It was like, okay, you're going to work with the machine, but do you have to follow the machine's directives and try and jam us? Did we not have the biggest fights? Did Doc King not have the biggest fight? Did Jesse Jackson not have the biggest fights with the black folks in the machine? Because they were the ones who were sent after us. Dwight, am I correct?
Exactly.
Absolutely correct. And on the politicians with the black preachers, they would directly stand.
Hello, John Jackson in Chicago.
Girl,
with
please.
the National Baptist Convention.
Absolutely. Look, come on. Hated this man so much. He moved the front entrance of his church to the side
of his church.
And Tracy, you said Tracy, next time you need to call in. Next time you need to call in, because typing in, there's a lot that we lose and we can't really engage. And I have to go past other people, which is not fair. But you said the Wisconsin GOP is also trying to impeach the newly elected SCOTUS. Of course they are. As long as you use the GOP when you want, I suppose that's fine. It's Milwaukee that does not turn out. But Milwaukee also had their polling places closed on them. Deal with that too, Tracy.
Absolutely.
Now, how many? I mean, they had like 6 polling places. They have over 100, right?
In 2020, we normally have 181 polling places. We were down to 5.
Okay, then. So talk about that. That's the Democrats. The Democrats did not fight to open those polling places.
Exactly. That happened under a Democratic mayor, Tom Barrett.
So don't talk to me about the Wisconsin GOP and the Wisconsin Democratic Party. No.
And not one alderman said a word. And most of them are Democrats in the city of Milwaukee.
Okay, then.
Nobody said a word.
So I'm just saying, you find no comfort anywhere. You find comfort in the Lord. And you better just fight for yourself while you're down here. That's what Jesus did. Jesus was in a political fight, and the crucifixion was a political hit. Let's just get clear on that. So, I mean, just, look, I'm not here to take up for anyone. I'm here to take up for us. So I'm going to get done what I need to get done. I'm just not going to compromise my principles on that. That's the thing. So Tracy, next time you call in and we can engage. I can't do any more because other people are sending messages as well. But just call in. Just call in and engage us. That's fine. But you need to know all of Lena Taylor's record. And she has to work with the people who are going to work with her. The people who kick her in the teeth the most are the Democrats, and it's a shame. Because they're not using one of the brightest people out here. She's a brilliant lawyer. She's a brilliant legislator. They should be using her. And she has the love of the people. She does. So there's that. So let's get with that program. I'm just saying. Let's know the whole story, and don't lift up Democrats. There are no. I mean, no one's putting on a cape for you here. You're gonna have to save yourself. That's all there is to it.
All right.
You have to save yourself. And let me tell you something. We've got more insults from the Democratic Party. Don't talk to me about them. But they were the bus. They were the donkey we needed to ride on.
And so I'm anxious to meet
and
him.
that's okay. I mean, that is, and that's all right. But this was not about love now. No, because they didn't want Reverend Jackson. We did. We found out 1984. While we are going to, I'm sitting in the room with Shirley Chisholm. Hallelujah. Hazel Obi, Casey Kasem's wife. Casey Kasem, the biggest DJ in the country, got his own bus and went around the country rallying the Arab American community without our knowledge. He was determined that Reverend Jackson was going to win, and he was going to get these Arab Americans out here to vote for it. And Donna Brazile brought in a paper. She was working for my mother in the 84 cycle. And it was a fax showing that the DLC was in formation, the Democratic Leadership Council. Al Gore, Bill Clinton, Sam Nunn, Al Fromm, Chuck Robb, the right wing of the party. And they said they were bringing themselves together. They were formulating to counteract the impact of Jesse Jackson and the 2.5 million voters he had brought into the party.
That's right.
And if they were not successful, the blue dog Democrats were going to become Republicans. How about that? We show up at our convention hotel in San Francisco. Our rooms were not ready, Tracy. My mother pitched an absolute black woman's fit. She said, now this is the last insults I'm taking from you jokers. And she said something else. We've been running for president, and you mean to tell me this is my convention hotel and I get here a couple of hours early and my room, my suite isn't ready? The floor where I got to put all my staff, because our suite was always a working room. It was an office.
Absolutely.
You serious? Oh, no, sugar. Wait. No, you talking to the wrong one. Because I know the deal. And I know when people insult you. And I know about having to stand up and smile through my tears and wave. My mother was so insulted, Lakeisha, at the end of that convention. My father stood, we were standing on the floor, and they had everybody, at the end they have the party come up and stand and wave, and we're together, we love you. And my mother refused to go on the stage. She said, absolutely not. And my father just looked at her, and I was almost in tears because we had been through so much. And my father turned to my brothers and I, and he said, please do not make Daddy go up on that stage by myself. Please. And I looked at my mother. I was like, Mom, can't let him go up there by himself. She said, do as you will. She said, but I'm not going. And I stood there and I put my head down because I was shedding a tear, because I knew the kind of hits he was taking, but he was going to go out front to rally Black people to get us in.
That's right.
And I knew that these same people were going to be so ungrateful, but that's okay, because my father says, if you need gratitude, if you need thank you, you don't deserve it. So that's okay. But when I tell you to use a party as a means, not as an end, I know what I'm talking about. I think Lena understands who the Wisconsin GOP is. She ran away from them. That's how I met her in Reverend's office. She was running away from Scott Walker, along with some other Democratic legislators trying to deny him a quorum while he was trying to jam Wisconsinites.
That's right.
She understands who they are. And she has never sold us out.
Not one.
Then I get emotional about it because people, we're trying to help you to understand how politics actually works. And Tracy, if you're my Tracy, who I know, you understand how politics works. Enough. And get involved in the process. And get involved with PUSH. Get involved with any organization of your choice because they lobby for you. Tell people about what's happening to the two Justins. Tell them that one of the Justins had to pull out the former U.S. Attorney General so he can get his credentials. Because he can't get around the Capitol. Deal with that. Because it might be a Republican who might let him through. Someone who on principle might say, you know what, you're not, because that happens all the time. I can't tell you. The first album that I did was produced by a big right-wing Republican by the name of Senator Orrin Hatch, and I am forever grateful to it. It is what it is. Did I have to change my song? No. Did I have to change my? No, I didn't have to change a thing. It is what it is. No, let's be about the business of thriving in America, not just surviving in America. Come on now. Let's get it. Anybody else want to say anything? Hello? Okay.
You said it.
Girl, please. Don't tell me because I know what I've seen. I know what I've experienced. And I know about, having to walk out on a stage when you wanted to cry. Because these people have personally and institutionally been so insulting.
And that's what it is. It's personal attacks. We had, Santita, this last go around for the Supreme Court justice race. We had a brother that ran. He's a pastor in Madison, Wisconsin. And he's a current sitting judge in a lower court, Judge Mitchell. And the personal attacks that came, person, you're green, you're running for office, you're trying to make a change. And what you face from progressives in our state who originally were courting him to be the candidate. And when they tried to get him to run for another office, well, what will it take for you to get out of the race? He said, I'm not getting out of the race. I'm running for Supreme Court justice. If I don't win, oh well, but let me have a fighting chance. They drug up some mess from this man about his first wife. And this lady, the professor, has moved on, but tried to accuse him of sexually assaulting his first wife. His first wife and him had to come out with a press statement to say, we're not standing by this. None of this was true. It was a total hit job on this man. And some of the allegations they were bringing out, his daughter with his first wife did not even know about. And she's now a young woman in college. So of course, you drag all this stuff up. So now he has to talk to his child about these allegations. So all of this, he's just left a poor taste in his mouth. But you're not going to tell me it wasn't Democratic hands all over there.
Oh, girl, look, when Reverend was the reason Geraldine Ferraro. Girl, please.
Exactly.
Geraldine Ferraro was on the ticket because Reverend said he was the first top-tier candidate in history to pledge to put a woman on the ticket. He said, if I'm the nominee, and none of them, Mondale included, who was the eventual nominee,
wanted to do it.
They said, no. They said, well, we'll have to think about it because we know. Okay. She gets on the ticket. White women refuse to support our 4 minority planks. We just had 4.
Exactly.
That we wanted in the convention platform, in the Democratic platform. Just 4. But we had to go out on that stage and smile and wave. And no one traveled. Reverend out-traveled Mondale trying to get him elected. What was behind all this was because they did not expect Reverend to finish 3rd. There were about 7 or 8 people running. They thought he was going to be done after a primary. They had no idea that with these 2.5 million, that he'd get 1 million plus more voters. And he became number 3. And there was a push from other people, not us, for him to be on the ticket. They were trying to keep him off the ticket. How dumb is that? How is it that you don't want to grow? Clearly, you don't want to win. And clearly, this is not about democratic principles. This is about corporatist principles. Oh, okay. So you don't want someone who's anti-war. You don't want someone who's pro-peace. You don't want someone who's pro-public education. You don't want someone who's for universal single payer. Oh, I get it. Okay, got it. Gotcha. So, come on now. And I'm still a Democrat.
Absolutely.
But I'm real clear that
I'm where I stand.
I'm on where I stand. I'm like, I'm not thinking about any of these jokers. What I'm thinking about is I'm trying to help us to thrive. That's it. And what people are clear on with the Jacksons is that we do not give up our principles for y'all. We ain't gonna do it. So, but if I have to work with you, I'm gonna do it. But don't think that just being a Democrat makes you free and makes you a freedom fighter. That is not true.
No.
Nothing could be, oh, come on, Lakeisha. Nothing could be less true. Oh, nothing could be less true. So let's don't do that. Nothing could be less true. It's just politics. That's all it is. Dwight, you remember, and Lakeisha, you might remember this too. Daryl, I don't know if you remember Robert Strauss. Remember, he was chairman of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Don't you remember that? In our lifetime, there was a guy who became, back in the 70s. He became chairman of Democratic Party. I don't know which was first. Chairman of the Democratic Party, then chairman of the Republican Party. Joe Lieberman.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Don't you talk to me, and y'all ain't all over him like a cheap suit. This joker got on the ticket, and you couldn't trust it. You couldn't trust that he was going to vote for you. I was so sick. I was like, "What? You all got Joe Lieberman?" I was walking in the hall at the convention, and someone who I know very love, she was walking with Joe Lieberman, and he was the vice presidential nominee at this point. And she was like, he wants to speak to your father, girl. I have to tell you, Dwight, y'all, I had to hold myself together. Because I was like, I do not want to connect you. But I'm going to get Reverend on the phone right now. I was like, this man does not deserve to speak to Reverend. I'm sick of this. Y'all find someone who absolutely, and when Reverend came out against tried to stop the invasion of Iraq, it was a phone call from Joe Lieberman that shut down my father's speaking engagements on college campuses just a few years before.
What?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yes, he did. Oh, yeah. Because what they do is they try to kill your income.
Oh, yeah.
So come on, y'all, please. And this is how the game is played. But you know what? My father's a real man. And he's man enough to take it. So whatever else y'all got to say about him, I'll deal with that. Because you know what? I love the fact that he's a man. And he'll take it. And he's willing, as Jimmy Carter said. He said, one thing I'll say about Reverend Jackson. You got to respect him. You might not like him always. You might not understand him. But you do know that he is willing to die for what he believes and live for it. Mic drop on that. That's all I'm asking you to do. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got a lot of little things I could. Oh, please. You kidding me? So, yeah, I get a little warm talking about Lena because this ain't easy. And she runs for office in Milwaukee all the time, trying to bring the people's issues out and can't get any help from the party. But when they need to turn out Black people, they reach out to her.
There's so many candidates that have gone to Black churches because of her. When we think about the governor that we have now, he traveled with her when he was running for office. She took him around.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
Well, he's trying to jam you.
Residual.
Girl.
We get it together because we usually are together on what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
So I understand that.
yeah, you know what? And you know what? That's the politics, because you go back and
Yeah.
forth with it, and that's okay. Because I mean, I still respect it and appreciate Governor Evers, but you need to understand
absolutely.
how
Absolutely.
politics works, and that's
right.
people squeeze where they need to squeeze, and I get it. And you just need to understand that that's how it works. And when you understand that, then I think it'll make you even more determined. It will steel your
absolutely.
spine, does it not?
Oh, absolutely. It makes you more free
It does.
because you're not beholden to anybody.
You
You're just beholden to the people.
You better, and first you better be beholden to God, because the people can be wrong too.
The people can be wrong too. There you go.
So, girl, yeah, we make some mistakes every now and again. So, look, I love you all. I'm gonna run out of here. Woo! Well, they call this Santita University. No, it's just the university of what's happening. That's what this is. I'm just trying to let you all know how this stuff really, really works. And so let's dry your eyes. So I told you magic, trying to assign all these magical qualities to Brandon. Please stop doing that. He's not a magical Negro. He is the same guy who 2% of you were going to vote for a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So stop it. Now that he's going to the fifth floor of City Hall, now he really needs you. He needs you.
That's right.
To push him to help you, because he has other people pulling at him to help them in their corporatist politics. So just understand that. Yeah, he's the same guy y'all hadn't heard of, weren't gonna vote for. Got it. I ain't mad at you. Well, okay. You see how political fortunes change, how tides turn in politics. That's just how it is. So let's be clear on that. Now the real work begins. We got to get the Justins on the committees. We need to get them their credentials. We need to stay on Brandon so we can keep him on point. All of that. Because now the work begins. So, love you. Love you, Lakeisha.
All right, shalom.
Love you, Dwight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of
Take care, y'all.
you.
Love you, Daryl. Love y'all. Ooh, ooh.
Love y'all too.